Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another Live and Laois Sports show. And I'm delighted to be joined by a lot of All-Ireland medal winners. Isn't that right? In fact, from Cullohill, I think in modern times in handball, I think there have only been 3 All-Ireland winners from Cullohill, and we have 2 of them tonight in the studio. Am I right, Paddy?
At least 3 anyway, yeah.
At least 3, come on.
Well, the 3 you have are All-Ireland winners. There's a few more past ones like Niamh Dunn, and there's a pipeline coming. We're only starting out there yet.
There's a flood of talent coming through Laois handball. So, Paddy, you're the man perfectly placed now to introduce our guests tonight.
Okay, we'll start with ladies first. Molly O'Connor, under 17 All-Ireland champion, and Laois minor hurling B All-Ireland champion. I think wing back on that team, and she has the honour of being, I think, the only Laois person that won All-Ireland medals in 2 GAA codes. Be a bit of a rarity in handball and camogie. Next we have Joe Brennan, Big Joe. Everybody in the county knows him. He's currently a GAA referee. He's won an All-Ireland championship in 2018. I won't say the age bracket, but it was over age anyway. And last year he joined me as a partner, and we won a Leinster championship about 3 days before lockdown. And then on to the next man is Ray Fogarty. Needs no introduction. He minded the square for Laois hurlers, senior hurlers for I don't know how many years, but he'll tell you about some of the other handballers that he marked in that square himself. And there may be another guest, I think, that you interviewed earlier and will be part of the programme. And that's Podge Delaney from Cullohill, Laois hurling centre back. And he was an All-Ireland champion under 17. And Ray will know him well there because Ray coached him. So and myself, I had no hurling or football medals in Laois, but would be familiar with the link between all these players. I suppose I've had a little bit of an input into each one of them as they kind of developed. But Joe has been my mentor in Laois for we're at it 30 years, Joe.
Near enough now, Paddy.
Yeah, at least. So that's the panel for tonight. They all have one thing in common. Every player here has won an All-Ireland medal for Laois in handball, and they've all had interesting GAA careers, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Paddy, a beautiful introduction. Like, I'll start with you, Ray. I'm going to ask a tricky question here, Ray. I might get you in trouble. I don't want to get you in trouble, but do you prefer the singles or the doubles in handball?
Look, I tell you, I prefer the singles. There's only one reason for that, I suppose. You're probably just relying on yourself. You're not relying on anybody else. If you're training, you did all the training yourself. You know what you're after doing. And if you're with a doubles partner, look, it is great, and you get to celebrate with him if you win something. I won an All-Ireland with St. Brigid's as well. There was a team of 4, and it was a great achievement as well. And we enjoyed it because it was 4 of us in it. When you're playing singles, there's no one really to blame, only yourself. It's like boxing. There's only you, another player, and the referee, and that's it. So, but when you're with a partner, there's always somebody else to blame, really, if something goes wrong, isn't there?
That's right. You struck up a really good partnership with Tomas Lennon, didn't you, Ray?
Yeah, myself and Tomas played a good bit together. Yeah, we did. I suppose we didn't have a whole lot of success. We won 60x30 Leinster championship. We got to an All-Ireland final and we got bet. But listen, we did well enough. We had a good old relationship. I also played with Paddy there for a good few times in the World Championship and stuff. We did pretty good as well. But Look, all in all, the handball in Laois is strong and getting stronger. That's the way to look at it.
Very good. And before I let Evan and Stephen come in with all the questions from Molly and Joe, here's another question to put you on the spot, Ray. Again, it might get you into a little bit of trouble. Again, that's not my wish, obviously. If there were handball courts in Portlaoise, would handball in the county be much stronger?
Without a doubt. Look, Portlaoise has a savage population. And I think there's sport out there for everybody. Hurling, football, soccer mightn't be for everybody. I'm not saying handball is, but for a certain percentage of the people, it gives them a different option. Like when I started playing handball in Cullohill, of my age group, I think we were only 10 or 11 when it first got going. There was only 3 lads my age. And now up in Cullohill, there's 76 or 78 juvenile members. And it took off, and I think it'll take off in Portlaoise.
Oh, absolutely.
And why not?
Absolutely. And talking about...
And just on that, there was...
One, Ray.
Sorry, go on.
Work away,
no,
Ray.
Just
work
on
away.
that, like there was 2 old handball alleys in Portlaoise, in St. Vincent's grounds, 2 60 by 30 alleys. And I think the remains of them are still there. And there was also a couple then in the college in Ballafin as well. So, and Mount Mellick and Port Tartan, all them places all had handball alleys. You know, but they're gone now, like.
Yeah, but we need to get them back or something similar.
Now you have it, yeah. That's the way to go.
Absolutely. Go on, Evan. Work away.
Just for Molly there, do you think there's enough development on Camogie in the country for girls?
Yeah, like I definitely think like, especially like there's a lot more publicity, especially because of people couldn't go to the matches this year. Like all of it was online, so I felt like a lot more people were like watching our matches, like because they wouldn't come to them. But I felt like a lot more people were watching them this year because they were online. So the publicity definitely grew this year, and there was a lot put into it.
Did that put more pressure on you?
Probably because like you knew you were being recorded, but like it's good. A bit of pressure doesn't hurt anyone.
What inspired you to start playing Camogie?
Because our club was like have won so many All Ireland, so it's kind of like you're from the Harps, you had to play Camogie. Like, well, that's what like it was my family, anyways. And my mum and dad are pure GAA mad, so kind of just happened.
Stephen, anything to add to that? Or?
Hi Molly, how are you? I was just wondering as well. I was going to ask you who would have been your biggest influence, say, growing up as a player in the club.
In like handball or Camogie?
In Camogie, say in the Harps, because I actually lived in Durham myself for a while, so I kind of know a few people up that area. But
Louise Manny would have been my like idol when I was growing up, like, and then sure, like nearly all the players, like. But especially Louise, I just really had great like respect for Louise, and like I got to play 2 years with her, so that was like an absolute like the amount of experience I got like I just from playing with her, like she was just amazing and got so much knowledge. So she would have been my person I would look up to the most.
And in terms of like the handball, I was kind of wondering, would you find that the handball helped you in terms of like transferable skills, say to play Camogie, then like your say coordination or anything in particular, like did it help?
Like hand-eye coordination, 100%, and like catching the ball and like strength, like upper body strength, and like speed, because like handball is so fast, like, and it's like so like you're on your toes, so like it really helps for like in that sense.
Brilliant, very good.
I just want to pop in here because I want to go through what you've won, Molly. Well, just a short list here, just for the viewers at home. So back in 2014, you won in the handball and under 13 Leinster doubles title. Do you remember that?
I do.
Who was your partner?
Lauren McGuigan.
Very good.
Can I actually tell you something? We used to play like a special, like it was like we used to play different. Like Lauren would take the front court and I would take the back court, and like Paddy did not like the way we used to play. Like, he did not agree with the way that we played it, and him and his like son Michael, like, who was our coach at the time, like, kept trying to change the way we played, and we were like, no, like, this is working, and they were like, no, like, this will not work, and we just went with it and we won. So Paddy,
we do. Well done, Molly. You put him on the spot again. Paddy, we need a response from you.
Well, in handball, and it's across all the players there, every one of them are individuals with their own flair. We went through the tactics with Molly and we tried to change it around, but they had a really good system where Molly was very strong at the back of the court, and she was playing with a left-handed player who covered the kind of the left corner, and Molly did an awful lot of the work around the court, and she pretty much brought that into Camogie on the half-back line for Laois. There's no busier player on the pitch than Molly. Well, there might be one more maybe, and you interviewed her last week. You interviewed Alice Walsh. They would be two real lively players that they pick up the breaking ball. And Molly mentioned it there about catching the ball across Laois Camogie and across Laois Hurling. That's a problem. I can see it in nearly every game they play. Ray will tell you there about catching the ball in the square against some of the guys that he marked. But Molly is probably the best catcher of the ball on that team. She's also a free taker, I think, from the half-back line.
I am not a free taker, and I'm not the best catcher on the team by far. Chloe Tynan is by far the best. I'd give her that.
Yeah, but I've seen you a couple of times. I can see that the speed that you go in at the breaking ball, it gives you the extra yard to deliver the ball. But as long as Molly is around, I'm going to be arguing with her about tactics anyway and about these things. But that's what players think about when they're on the handball court. They're constantly thinking about the extra tactic that they can bring to the game. And Ray'll probably go into a little bit that about tactical handball, and certainly Joe will probably mention that as well. But what the tactics in handball cross over into the GAA, it gives massive vision.
Yeah, and I think it actually now with hurling coaching, they're coaching the kids to pass to the hand. And I think it suits handballers, somebody from a handball background, even more, the way the game is going. What do you think?
I watch a lot of the warm-ups that the hurlers do before games. There's a guy called Ken Erk that came from Clare to the Limerick hurling panel, and he's all about small pods, 5 and 6 feet apart, 5 or 6 players, trying to get that ball at speed out. And you can see that very much in Limerick hurling, who are probably the pioneers at the moment. And I would have seen a little bit of that in the warm-ups that Eddie Brennan was doing with the Laois hurling team before games, that it's gone really, it's short, it's possession. And look, that's probably the way forward. Like I can give you a list of players from around the country in handball that are progressing very much so in hurling around the teams. And sure, they're at a massive advantage having 2 hands to catch the ball. And in those small pods, we're in a very small space, particularly playing doubles, and it's constantly short movements of maybe 2 and 3 steps, if you know what I mean, to get out of one another's way and to maybe get in one another's way sometimes as well. But that's definitely the direction that hurling is going in. And there's so much that Laois GAA can learn from it generally, and I'll get onto that later on.
Thanks, Paddy. Thanks. Now, again, I'm going to embarrass Molly even further. You won an under-17 All-Ireland 40x20 title back in 2017. And you were the player of the game in the under-16 All-Ireland Camogie final the same year. And basically, you're an all-rounder, Molly. Would you disagree?
I wouldn't say I'd be better at the Camogie than the handball anyways. I felt I was lucky on the day to win the All-Ireland, to be honest. It came down to a tiebreaker, and only for I had Ray coaching me, I don't think I would have done as well.
Very good. Ray, that's your cue to come back in. It's all down to the coach. Would you agree?
Yeah. No. I think she's been very modest, to be honest. No, as you can see, look, Molly's a very talented girl, and the same with Podge, Delaney and all them. They're very, very, very talented people. With the right bit of coaching, and look, Molly could be and still could be a great handballer. She's just gifted. She's gifted. She's very, very gifted. And look, she has a younger sister that's very gifted, and she has a brother that's very gifted. Like, it's a gifted family. They all got that from her mother, of course. They didn't get any of that from Barney.
I knew you'd say that. You're going to be in trouble, Ray. You're going to be in trouble.
I know. We won't be the first time.
Yeah. And Ray, did I mention 1991? You had a big win. Going back a little bit.
God, you're going back a good bit now, all right?
Am I right on the year?
Probably an under 17. You're very close, I'd say, anyway. I was lucky. I got into 2 Handball Irelands in the same year. I was an under 17 singles 40 by 20 and under 17 singles 60 by 30. Paddy will probably tell you I threw away the 40 by 20. I served game point 16 or 17 times and lost the All Ireland. And then 2 weeks afterwards, I won the 60 by 30 pretty convincingly. I think it was just pure thickness on the day. But the Laois ladies footballers were playing the same day as the 60 by 30 All Ireland. They were playing an All Ireland as well, and they lost that day because a good friend of mine, Lord Mercer, or Lulu Carroll, was playing that day. And we met up afterwards. But that was a particularly good year and maybe bad year. I should have had 2 All Irelands instead of 1, but look, beggars can't be choosers.
This is it. And of course, in last week's podcast, Ray, we mentioned Lulu quite a lot because Mikey Hyland from Shandahoe won the Lulu Carroll Award as a great volunteer. She sadly missed. I mean, everyone who met Lulu was really impacted by her example and her dedication and her whole being.
Oh, without a doubt. But I think she was just an exceptional lady. That's the way she was, and a great sportswoman. And she's deeply missed around Durrow. And her brother Mihal, I played football with him too, and sorely missed too. And look, I'm a great friend of the family, and they're a great sporting family. And we're blessed around this part of the country. We have a lot of good sporting families.
Yeah, you do. I mean, underage now, the Harps, handball, obviously with Cullohill in the handball, the Harps in the hurling, the Camogie. You're a real power in the county now.
Yeah, look, we were always a power underage in the county. We're after letting it slip maybe a little, but we're working our way back. We're in a senior B county final. Whenever that'll ever get played, I don't know. Our junior A's are in a semi-final. Our junior C's are in a final, and then you have all the underage coming on after that. So look, it's coming to a good place. I think we just need to get back up senior, but I think we will. And if we do, we will be. We have the boys coming to maybe stay there for a while.
Absolutely. And speaking of the boys coming through, I had the pleasure of chatting with Podge Delaney earlier today. Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another Live and Laois sports podcast. Delighted to be joined by the one and only, the ultimate Cullohill handballer and hurler, Podge Delaney. How are you, Podge?
Not too bad, John, yourself?
Great. And off camera, I was just, we were talking about, it's almost a year to the day you competed and maybe in retrospect should have won the Fitzgibbon Cup final.
Yeah, it's nearly a year ago now, but the year flew, but we had a great chance to win the Fitzgibbon there last year, but came up short on the day. It was unlucky on the day, but hopefully we'll be back again in a couple of years or next year, hopefully, to go back to the final again, hopefully.
And looking at the IT Carlow squad, there's about a third of the starting team from Laois. Yeah,
there's a great number of lads from Laois in Carlow and hurling for Carlow. It's a great representation of the team, and it's great that we can play up at the top level with all the likes of Kilkenny's and Wexford's top players in their counties as well, and show that we're good enough to be up there as well.
you had Enda Rowland, you had Sean Downey, you had Stephen Bergen, Owen Gockin, and Shane Phelan.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of money. Yeah, I think that's. I hope I'm not leaving anyone out there. Yeah, but I think that's everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I forget someone now, Podge, I'm going to get shot.
Yeah, hopefully I'm not getting in trouble for it anyway.
This is it. And Podge, what was it like working under DJ Carey?
Sure, DJ is he's a great trainer and he's a great coach. Myself and Mick Dempsey down there in Carlow, they work well together. Like they know everything really. They've been through a lot, the two of them, and just great coaches. Really great to have them on board down there. Yeah, we had Eddie for the last 2 years. Yeah, he was brilliant as well. Sure, he brought us to great wins over the years, and sure, he was a great trainer. Like he really set the standard for us, kind of coming training and set a standard for ourselves that just to be better and to work harder, and it worked out great in the last 2 years. Like in 2019 we had great wins and came up short last year in championship against Clare, but hopefully now under Cheddar this year, like we can build on it and go again and get more wins for hopefully in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And for you, what was it like to be the youngest member of the Laois panel to win the Joe McDonagh?
Actually, it was more or less the same as everyone else, really. Everyone coming onto the panel. I was my second year on the panel, but first year starting. But everyone was great on the team. Like, it's easily fit in. Like, you wouldn't mind going into the dressing room or anything. Like, everyone's sound out on the team. They make you feel at home in there, so it's all good. Kind of was, yeah, because prior to that, I was playing senior A with the club with the Harps, and I got a few runs in the league and the Walsh Cup before championship, but that would have been my first taste of proper senior in the county hurling. Like, it was a big jump up, but yeah, it's enjoyable. Like, yeah.
And how big a jump is it? Because you hurled minor and you kicked minor football for Laois at the same time. I mean, looking at the jump to senior, is it feasible to do both at senior level?
Yeah, I think it'd be very difficult to do both at senior level. Obviously, I played a bit of football, small bit of football, got on the minor team, but it was okay back then because you'd be going training one night with hurling and then the next night you'd be going football, and it wasn't too bad. But I think at senior level there's so much demands. Like, it's nearly 6 nights a week you're training with hurling, like, so it'd be very difficult to give 100% to both codes, I think, if you were going at it, I think.
Yeah, Care Healy was the last one in Laois to be a dual player. Yeah, it's becoming more and more difficult. Now, your goals for this year on the hurling field and off the hurling field in college as well, Podge, what do you want to accomplish in 2021?
I suppose so we're training now, like we're training to try and get in the best condition that we can for the championship this year for Laois. And obviously with the setback now, we have another couple of weeks to train and get our fitness levels up to where it should be, and hopefully compete well in the Leinster Championship and the league if we have a league. But yeah, just compete well and try and win a few games and get more silverware back hopefully into Laois.
Yeah, not having a start date for the resumption of the league. The worry is in some county panels that players will drift away. Do you think that could happen with the Laois setup?
I don't think so. Not at the moment, anyway. I think everyone has bought into Cheddar, and we met up before Christmas, but we're kind of meeting on Zoom every week now, so everyone's in touch with one another. So I think everyone is. I don't think there's any drop-offs or anything. I think everyone's fully focused on the year ahead, and even though we had a setback there last week, like, I think everyone's looking forward to starting the league and championship. So I don't think so, no.
That's great. Thanks for that. Now, a couple of questions there from Stephen. Stephen can't make it, but he has your questions here. Now, okay, firstly, simple enough one to start off with. What was it like being part of the Joe McDonough winning cup team?
I was very enjoyable, obviously. Like the celebrations after were great, and playing in Crow Park for the first time, for the first Laois teams playing Crow Park in so long, like it was an honour to play there. Like, but and to get to go back there in 2 weeks after again, it was a great experience. Like, and one time lucky to get, because there was so many Laois teams in the past that didn't get the chance to play in Crow Park, and I got 2 chances in 2 weeks nearly. Like, so it was a great experience. No?
And 2 great wins.
Yeah, well, 1 great win, I lost the tip, but the Joe McDonough final was a great win. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And what can you remember of the win over Dublin in 2019? Were you surprised by that, or did you expect it? Did the panel expect it?
I think most of the panel expected to win. Like, we had a meeting before, and we all kind of came away fairly confident that we could cause a shock. Like, nobody was really expecting us to do anything after winning the final, after winning Joe McDonough. So I think we had a great chance of winning, and we all believed that we could. And so, like, I think we all were fairly confident. But I think the main thing is, like, to back it up again. Like, we don't really want to be remembered for winning 1 game against Dublin. Like, we want to compete like that every year and get wins like that every year, and try and make a bigger name for it. Like, just get bigger wins and all.
Yeah, and how painful was the loss to Clare last year?
Yeah, we came very close last year. Lost by a point in the end, but yeah, it was disappointing. Like, because we thought we had another great chance of getting a big win over a top quality team, and to come so close in the end, it was devastating. Now last year, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose I've been playing hurling my whole life. I started kind of primary school was probably the first taste I got of it, and playing hurling at lunch and all that, and coming to one school. And sure, everyone around here, it's all nearly hurling around here. Small bit of football, but everyone's just into hurling and mad into hurling, and sure, just picked it up like that. Like, everyone's the same with the Harps, like, just going train from under 8s and under 10s, and picked it up from there. Really, that was it.
When you say here now, when you mentioned Cullohill, I mean, were there any teachers or coaches in the school that really fired you up and got you on the road to playing with Laois?
I suppose Joe Deegan has been training he's been coaching primary school for years. I think he's still coaching primary school now. Like, and he was there the whole way up along when I was there, and he was a great coach, like never missed a train. Like, he would be there, and he'd give you a fierce interest in it. Like, and he was just brilliant for us growing up. Anyway.
Brilliant. And now we have the Eddie Brennan. Well, what was Eddie Brennan like as a manager to deal with?
I thought he was very good. Now, he was very, like, particular about what he wanted, and about standards. And as I said, like, he's set standards that just had to be met. Like, and even like coming train and like to be early at train and like basic simple things, like, he just expect them to be done right, and that was it really. And himself and Niall Corkin and Tommy Fitzgerald, like, they were great hurling coaches to have with him as well, and everyone just got on really well with them, and it's just very good now.
Brilliant. So is it fair to say Eddie was trying to build a culture in Laois hurling, and Cheddar will bring that along even further?
Exactly, yeah. Like, Cheddar is a brilliant man to have back in. He's probably the perfect man to have back in. Like, everyone respects him, and he's so well known and such a great hurling mind. Like, he knows everything about the game. Like, and we can learn lots of things from him as well, hopefully, and build on what we've had for the last 2 years, and hopefully drive it on again.
Brilliant, Podge. Brilliant. Now, another question. What do you think is the key to getting Laois competing consistently at the top level?
I think, first of all, we have to get into a condition to be able to compete against the top teams. Like, if you look at Limericks or Galways or any of the top teams, they're massively built, and they're seriously fit teams. Like, and we have to build that starting from now, like, and starting from the winter, like, from training, like, and like, if we have lots of hurlers in Laois, like, it's just we need to build that. And like we have belief in the team that we can go places. Like, so I think that's the main thing what we have to do, just to build ourselves up to play at the highest level.
Brilliant. So expectations for 2021, Podge?
Sure. Hopefully, like, we'll have a good year, like, and with the club and the county, and like we have a county final still to play with the club, so hopefully we can win that and go on then and do well with Laois as well, hopefully. Like,
brilliant. Now, toughest opponent, I can't let you go, in club and county hurling.
I suppose it was nearly last year we were playing Clare as trying to mark Tony Kelly for 70 minutes, but it's fairly tough now. But yeah, I'd say he was probably the trickiest man to mark, I'd say.
Yeah, he's a genius.
Yeah, he was very good, especially last year. He was in serious form. Like, it was hard to run after him for the whole 70 minutes. But yeah, I'd say it was tough now. Yeah. You want to be marking the best players in the country, and you want to be playing against the top teams. Like, that's where we want to be, and we want to play, and we want to be winning them games. Like, that's what's huge for us now at the moment. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And toughest club opponent?
Toughest club opponent, I suppose.
You'll get in trouble now.
Geez, I don't know who I could pick for that. There's been so many now the last couple of years. Like, so no, I couldn't pick one.
Yeah.
Couldn't pick one.
No, you get in trouble.
No, I could. Yeah, I might get in trouble for that.
This is it, especially if you're playing county with them.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't be saying.
Brilliant. But Podge, thanks for taking the time out this afternoon to talk to us. But yeah, Podge, exceptional. There's exceptional talent coming through.
Well, it's down to an awful lot of it is down to the juvenile training they're getting, but also to their families. Their families, the people who's bringing them to all these games, who's promoting the games from behind to getting them to training. Like none of these lads are driving or anything, so it's getting them to training, and they turn into the young men like Podge. We have Paddy Dunn, which is a great handballer. He's on the under 21 team. We have a James Duggan. He was on the under 20 team, good handballer too. You know, we have all these lads coming through. We have Thomas Welch, great handballer, and Podge has two nephews then coming as well. Very young but very talented fellas, you know, and it's all down to their families. You know, you can say you could have the best trainer in the world, but if the parents don't bring them to the field, they're not going to learn anything at home.
Yeah, well said, Ray. Well said. And Joe, we have to get Joe into the conversation here. We've not that we've been ignoring you, Joe. It's your cue. And again, Joe, I want to embarrass you as well, because 2019 was some year for you, Joe. Laois Handball of the Year, and of course you were All Ireland Masters champion, Joe.
Yeah. That was a good year for me, because I was after playing a lot of handball for, as Paddy said there, for the best part of 30 years, and I got to an All Ireland semi-final with Paddy. We won a couple of Leinsters in doubles, and got to 4 or 5 maybe Leinster singles finals and lost them all. And this one, I took the bull by the horns, and I said I'd give it a go for that year, so I was delighted to win it now, in fairness. I have to say, it was probably the pinnacle of my career, I suppose.
Of course, winning Laois Handballer of the Year that year,
that was great, yeah. That was great too, yeah. Because I won it back maybe 10 years or 10 years or maybe farther back as well, so to get it a second time was nice too, you know.
And I know you're reffing hurling, Gaelic football and ladies football at the moment. Watching or playing, is handball your favourite?
Probably when I was playing football was my favourite. I played a small bit of hurling with a team in Great Cullohill and Ballylinen. Won a junior C championship with Ballylinen, but I'd say football and then hurling or handball was my second choice, like, you know.
Yeah. And of course, handball, a bit like Cullohill, handball in Monavea is strong as well.
Handball in Monavea was strong, like, and down to the years there, like, it only started in 1987, like, and have a good few All-Ireland winners like Shane Dahmer, Tomas Lennon, Fiona Brennan, Tracy Brennan, Ciara Dowling, Aisling Bain, and myself, like, so, like, it went well for a small club in a rural area, like, you know. It was great. Look, there was great men behind it too, like, that helped along, and great coaching and all that, like, you know, from the time it started, and we were delighted, like, you know, with the club, and like, it's going well there now. There's probably 25 to 26 adult members, and there's probably the same amount in juvenile, so we're all going fairly well at the minute there.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant to hear, Joe. But it does beg the question, if handball was strong in the bigger towns and Laois, wouldn't the sport be in a better place?
Oh, definitely, yes. Oh, yeah, sure. Like, and even, like, if you could get another few clubs, even, you know, besides Port Laois, to get involved in it as well, like, that would be a massive boost to handball in Laois, like.
Absolutely. I mean, because like a lot of sports, Joe, it's a numbers game. If you look at the numbers in Port Laois, I mean, if the facilities were there, surely you'd be able to produce a couple of champions.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, sure. Like the amount of people is in Port Laois that's probably not playing, as Ray said there, hurling, football, rugby. There's somebody not playing that they might take up handball, you know, and like. It's very enjoyable when you get into it. You know, to get into it is the hardest part, but it's very enjoyable when you do get into it, like, you know.
Absolutely. And is it enjoyable, Joe, when you have to carry a partner like Paddy?
But you look at we do have our blips too. We do give out to one another and things like that. But look at the end of the day, like, it's great to be able to play, like, at our age, like, kind of thing, like, you know, and to stay ahead, like, is another thing, like.
Well said. Well said. Evan, have you any more questions? I'm sure you do.
What promotion do you think is needed for handball in Laois? What way could it be promoted, like?
Well, like, it's being promoted there at the minute there, but it's probably not getting enough coverage on the TVs and all this. You know, like, years ago it used to be on the telly, like the top ace used to be on the telly, but there's none of that anymore. Like, you know, it would be great to see it come back. You know, Croke Park is actually after doing up their own handball alley up there, like, and it'd be great to see it come back up, you know, on telly again, like.
Do you think it needs to be publicised as much as the hurling and football are?
Oh yeah, because, like, it's all run under the one rule, like, you know what I'm saying to you. The more people plays it, the better it'd be for Laois, like, you know, and anyone that wants to play it, like.
And you'd imagine if it was a lot bigger hurling, and that would be brought on a lot, like.
Well, as Molly said there early on there, that, like, the coordination of, you know, when you're playing handball or football, you're that little bit, you're one step kind of ahead of everyone else, like, so, you know, and like, when you were one step ahead of anyone playing hurling, especially, like, it means a lot, like, that you get out front, win the ball, you know, turn, bang over the bar kind of thing, like.
Yeah, do you think that's what maybe needs to be brought into hurling kind of sessions, if you, in terms of county training, if that was brought into it, maybe? But
a lot of teams are doing that at the minute anyway, like, you know, take Limerick there, just for instance, like, they're moving the whole, you know, the little short pass here and there, like, and that's mostly like handball there too, like, you know.
No,
just, Evan, if I just jump in there just a little bit with a few examples from around the country. Now, I did a little bit of research on this when I knew the topic was going to come up. And we'll start with John Hayes' Tipperary, with Jerome Cahill down there, a minor star, under 21 star, possibly an under 21 medal with Tip, and he's now on the Tipperary senior hurling team. He won a minor All-Ireland doubles only about 3 years ago in Croke Park. That's the only Tipperary man I'll mention, John, if you don't mind. But when Laois hurlers go out shortly, they're going to be competing in Division 1B. Their opponents in that are Wexford, Kilkenny and Clare. Now, I don't have to go too far in Kilkenny. They're going to be meeting Richie Hogan at centre field, probably one of the greatest hand passers and visionaries around the place. We don't have a player like that in Laois. DJ Carey, enough said. I don't have to mention his name, but if you go down to Wexford, Liam Dunn played under 21 handball for Wexford. Won All-Ireland, 2 Leinster medals, 1 Railway Cup, 3 All-Stars, and in the 125 greatest hurlers of all time list, he's in there, someplace in the 70s. Ned Buggy, in the 60s, won an All-Ireland. He's still playing handball over 70. Son Gavin played for Wexford. Barry Goff and Colin Keeling would have played senior hurling for Wexford, and they won a senior handball All-Ireland doubles in Croke Park. And I could go on to Dan Quigley, Eddie Kelly, but even today there's a young player down there called Mark Doyle who has made his way onto the Wexford minor team. Mark is a star handballer. He's probably one of the best prospects that has come out for a long time. And that's just 2 counties. If we go to Galway, Fintan Curran and Sienna Curran, they would have been 2 handball stars up at 16 and 17. Fintan partnered Martin Mulcairns. Martin is our number 2 player at the moment. He played Robbie McCarthy in a senior All-Ireland this year, and he's due to play him in a 40 by 20 All-Ireland. But Fintan plays centre field for Galway. His sister played minor football for Galway. Close to getting on senior teams when she got an injury. But like, if you go down to Limerick, Martina Mcmahon is the world handball champion. Played minor camogie for Limerick, intermediate camogie for Limerick, and she won the junior long puck. Now, I'll come back to another issue about where clubs have handball attached to them, and I'll give you a list of those clubs later on when we get on to handball facilities. And there's a long list of them. But if you're going around the country, I'll get to the Cavan senior football team maybe later on. But I think Laois really are missing a trick here. We don't have those players here. They don't have the hand passing expertise that these young handballers bring into their sports, if you know what I mean. The crossover is huge in other counties. And I'll talk about the facilities maybe towards the end. Maybe that answers the question about Evan's real question. Would hurling and football benefit from handball rather than the other way around? What, if you know what I mean? There's no doubt. Joe will know well. He coached Evan Carroll to a Fela team. Evan was in an under-16 handball All-Ireland Leinster final. And look at him now. And I know there's genes there. He happens to be a nephew of Lulu Carroll. But he's a talent. But he kicks with both feet. Again, in handball, you're teaching the left side of the brain the same as the right side of the brain. It's a 2-sided sport. And Evan is not just, if you go through the list of all those players that I've mentioned, they're not just on senior hurling teams and senior football teams. They're the centre backs, like Podge is. They're the centre field players. They're the guys with peripheral vision, and they're the guys that pick up all the broken play. And Molly, I would put in that bracket in Laois, and that's what she will deliver. And I don't know how many more Mollys there could be around the place, or Ray Fogarty's around the place, that, like, if there was facilities around the clubs in Laois, around the GA clubs, certainly, I feel anyway, that the GA clubs are missing a trick here.
It's like how we discussed a few weeks ago when we were on the topic of basketball. Some of the football players that have played basketball that are now perfect with the ball, their hands, catch a ball perfect, everything. So maybe it's bringing these kind of sports into it could help bring on.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned basketball. Lulu Carroll was a great basketball player, played National League basketball. Just Kieran Lillis, probably another one. Donny Kingston, another one. You see what those guys can do fielding the ball. Certainly, it would help the footballers as much as handball would also help the footballers, because it teaches the left side of the brain from 6 and 7 and 8 years of age. Like, we're constantly in Laois handball developing the left side of the body, which if you've watched some of the Laois football games, maybe at a level lower than senior, God, you'll see fellas going around in a semicircle all day to try and get it on their good foot to kick a point, and you actually only have to mark one side. If you have a handballer, you'll be marking. If they're trying to mark Evan Carroll, you'll see he'll spin and sidestep on both sides very easily.
I seen even with the championship this year with the hurling in Laois, right? There were some of the players couldn't catch a ball for hurling, and I think if handball was brought into it in their individual club training, you could bring on their teams massively.
Yeah, I would have myself and my son go to some of the recent hurling. I have to say it improved under Eddie Brennan a good bit. I don't know what drills he was doing, but certainly it came across to me. But prior to Eddie coming in again, Eddie played with Hogan. Eddie played with a DJ at the start of his career.
I'm not just talking about county level. I'm talking about clubs, individually.
Yeah, well, again, we would have gone to some of the club games, myself and my son, and you'd see a hurler on his own under a dropping ball, putting up his hand, and the next thing he drops it, there's a swarm around him, and rather than catching the ball and getting a score, there's a score at the other end, and we'd look at one another going, God almighty. Like, if there was a handball alley in his club, that would never happen. Never happen. I'd like to call in Ray there about catching the ball and playing fullback, and maybe some of the players that he marked over the years.
Good question, Paddy. Yeah, Ray, did the handball help in the hurling when you were patrolling the edge of the square?
Yeah, listen, look, as Molly was saying, the eye-hand coordination from the handball across over to the hurling, look, it is great. For me as a fullback, my first thing was maybe not to let the fellow I was marking catching it, but if I had a chance, then I was going to be catching it. I was lucky enough to be on a really, really good Harps team at the time, and made my way onto the Laois senior team. And look, I was marking the likes of DJ Carey and them boys, and they were every bit and better handballers than I was, and great eye for a ball, and better hurler, of course, too. But my main job was not to let him get the ball, So I just had to be that second in front of him. And if I wasn't playing handball, there was no way I would have been that 1 second in front of him. Look, for me, it's a no-brainer, because handball is in the off-season of hurling. For a fellow like me who likes his grub and maybe a few pints, it's a great way to get it off in the winter. It's to stay up there, 15 minutes, an hour playing handball against the likes of Paddy or maybe somebody a bit younger. Get rid of a few pounds. But no, for me, it's a no-brainer. And if you look at it, if you look at the GAA, the way they're after coming on, they're building ball walls, they're doing all this kind of crack. Where did that come from? Because when I started hurling for Laois, they used to bring us up to Ballafin College into 260 by 30 alleys, left and right, which are hurl. And now suddenly there's ball walls nearly in every pitch in the country. And they're all trying to get their eye-hand coordination going. Where if you did that with your hands instead of the hurl, it'll come more natural to you, because it would improve your left-hand side or your weaker side, whichever it was going to be. So it's for me, it's a no-brainer. I think everybody has seen the ad for the GAA this year with Lee Ching in it, and he has the hurl over his shoulder and he's walking down to the beach to an old 60 by 30 handball alley on a beach in Wexford, I think it's St. Anne's or somewhere, and he's hitting the ball off the wall, and that's where it all comes from.
Well said, Ray. Well said. Stephen, have you any questions in there?
Yeah, I do indeed. I was just going to ask Joe. The first part of the question might sound a bit cheeky, but it's actually not. I was just kind of wondering, as you get older, like, do you think that winning titles in handball mean more, would you say? Or
Yeah, I suppose it does mean more, and you know, you're more determined yourself, you know, to win a title, like, you know, because like Paddy's after winning, Paddy won a lot of titles, and I was kind of playing with Paddy up along, and Paddy went on and won World Championships and All Irelands, and you know, and you just say to yourself, maybe if you put your mind down to it, you could win an All Ireland, like, you know. So it's, you know, it's up to, look, it's up to yourself. You're in there on your own, and it's up to yourself if you want to win. It's, you know, you have to put your mind to it and focus on what you have to do, and don't mind anyone else, like, because there's only you and another man in the alley, like, so especially in singles, like.
And would you say you find the pressure more exerting, say, if you're, obviously you kind of, I think you touched on earlier, like, say if you're playing with another partner, do you kind of vibe off each other, or is it something that you feel almost like a weight is being put on you because you know you don't want to let the other person down or whatever? Yeah,
but look, sometimes when you're playing doubles, like, you take shots, and you know, and you don't, you know, you don't necessarily mean to go for kills that you shouldn't be going for, especially when you're playing doubles, because, you know, maybe Paddy or whoever's with you would have a better chance of killing the ball, or, you know. So when you're on your own, you have to make those choices, and you have to, if you go for it, you go for it. If you have no sin cursing or swearing, like, to say you missed it, or, you know, you have to, when you're playing on your own, like, you have to go for it on your own, like, as if you're playing doubles, keep up the ball maybe, and maybe a better chance to come for him, or, you know, it's whoever's playing with you, like.
I just have one more question as well. I was just wondering, like, what would you say would have been the biggest difference, say, since you started playing handballs to, say, now today? What would you say would be the biggest difference?
Well, I tell you, the biggest the alleys is after improving a fierce amount, you know. Most alleys you go to now is all kind of done up, and, you know, where years ago, like, you were just going into like a shed, like, as such, like, you know, and most alleys now have all the glass back walls and things like that, like, and you know, if you were a supporter, like, years ago, you had a built wall in it, and you had to stand up over it and look down, you know. But where now you can sit down in the alley and look straight, and you don't, you know, you're not disturbed or anything like that, like.
Very good. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
On that, Paddy, what's needed to improve the facilities around the county?
Okay, there's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, and I'm probably going to get a little bit of criticism from a few quarters. But handball in Laois is played in Cullohill, Fourwall, and in Credyard, Monavea and Credyard. They're outliers in terms of population. They're way out of the county boundaries. But like, there's an incredible statistic in Laois GAA and across the Laois GAA clubs. We are the only county that no GAA club has ever built a handball court. Now, they're at promoting GAA sports a long time. I think in Shanahoe, across the interview that you did last week, the ladies' GAA football and the ladies' Camogie were really facilitated by GAA Shanahoe. And that's a link that maybe should extend maybe to handball. Portlaoise Club at the moment are doing a kind of a ground-up review of all sports that could be linked in together at Rat League, and they had a plan for a handball court, and I was talking to them this week. But like, I've been delivering one-wall handball courts around the county maybe for 7 or 8 years now, and I'm on the county GA board representing handball. I don't get phone calls from GA clubs. Like, at some stage, you'd imagine somebody would pick up a phone and say, God, Paddy, we saw what O'Loughlin's GA club did. We were up in Longford Slashers. We were in Nafina. We were in St. Finbarr's in Cork. We were in Gortnamona, St. Paul's, maybe, and Donovan Ross's in Belfast. Castlebar GA club. Salt Hill, behind Pierce Stadium in Salt Hill. Every one of those places has one, if not two, handball courts. And like, O'Moore Park was built. They could plan apartments at the front of it. They could buy GA Portlaoise. They could put in a centre of excellence. There is space, but in all of that development, and it's huge, and credit to Laois GA what they have done up there. I don't want to take from the volunteers, but at no time did anybody on any committee pick up the phone to Paddy Donovan or to anybody else in Laois handball and said, look, you're part of the GA family. Can we do something here? And that link is something that needs to be made. Laois handball are equally guilty in that we haven't really gone at the GA clubs or tried to get in there on the ground floor when they're making applications for grants and 5-year development plans. Really, we should be in there across all the clubs to see if we can get a handball facility. Look, we're missing a trick. If you go down to O'Loughlin's and you see the GA hurlers that they produce, they're in county intermediate hurling finals down there and maybe senior finals. And that's where DJ Carey plays his handball, and that's where I met Richie Hogan. I played him a few times in O'Loughlin's. Like, in Laois, we're missing that little link. There are Molly O'Connors and Ray Fogartys and Joe Brennans and talented young fellas and young girls in all GA clubs across Laois, but they just don't have that winter sport that could produce the left-right hand, the thinking, the peripheral vision, the eye-hand coordination from maybe 6, 7, 8 years of age before they become hurlers and footballers. That little link is missing in Laois. And I suppose when these podcasts are over and I get my handball court in Portlaoise, that'll be the next piece of the jigsaw after that.
Well, yeah. Now is the time to make a case for handball, and you make it very, very well. I mean, the fact that, as you quite rightly pointed out, we don't have a Richie Hogan type player out there at the moment in Laois, and obviously, if we had the facilities for handball and we had more of the GA players and non-GA players playing handball, that would feed into the county setups. And you'd have that type of player coming through. I think it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. And I'll just pick one example. Ross King is some talent in hurling. But he was in UCD with Martin Mulcairns that I mentioned earlier. But when Ross was injured and when he's doing nothing else, he's in the 60 by 30 court in Rathdowney playing hurling. My God, what it would add if he put down the hurl for an hour and started playing handball on both sides. But he actually plays squash down in Galmoy. Again, we mentioned Galmoy previously. There's a young hurler down there called Billy Drennan. He's probably the most exciting prospect that's coming through into Kilkenny hurling. Top scorer in the minor championship at 16 years of age. And Billy is the minor All-Ireland champion in handball. Like, I can go across all the counties. I go to Cavan if you like. This year's Cavan football team beat Donegal in the Ulster final. They went on to Croke Park to play the Dubs eventually. But there's 4 players on that Cavan football team that played Féile handball and went on to win All-Ireland medals at Féile, maybe in the lower divisions. But I got a list from Cavan. Like Thomas Edward Donoghue was on that Cavan team and Stephen Smith. Like, they were good handballers when they were young. Joe Dillon up there, Raymond Cunningham, Victor Sherlock, all star handballers that played senior football for Cavan. And I mentioned the greatest handballer possibly of all time was Paul Brady. And for over 11 years, he played cornerback on the Cavan football team. Now, if I can see that, Joe sees it, Ray sees it, Molly sees it. Like, Joe there himself. Joe played on intermediate Leinster a collection team, or Credit Yard team, sorry, that won a Leinster final back when Joe was in his 40s. But like, where do the Joes go when they retire, or the Ray Fogartys across Laois? Hurling and football, like the age of retirement is coming down. One time, Ross Munnelly is an outlier again, but the retirement age for a footballer or a hurler in Laois is 30 years of age. The following year, their golf handicap drops. Like, you know, if the connection that those guys could make with their handball club, if they had a handball facility and they're hanging around their GAA club, that's what makes it up. The star players, the star senior hanging around the GAA club, inspiring youngsters, they could easily be inside in a handball court in the GAA facility. And I think that's a little thing that it might be it'd be a small thing for Laois GAA because they have huge issues. They have like 16 and 17 man executives. They each have massive roles, finance, development officers. It's a huge job. Handball is way down their priority. But I think they're missing that little bit of link that could do so much for Laois hurling and football. The evidence is there in all the other counties.
Yeah,
I don't have to make a case, if you know what I mean, to Laois GAA to point out that, look, DJ Carey is one side of us. Laois lost to Clare last year by 1 point. Had Laois won that game, it would have transformed the championship last year. And
correct.
We may be going into this year in an awful lot better position had we got 2 or 3 more championship games last year.
Yeah, I mean the better team lost that game. Laois left it behind them. The more times I've watched it back, the man you've named, he was the difference. I thought Podge did well on Tony Kelly, to be fair.
Yeah, again, you couldn't probably put another Laois player on Tony Kelly, like before or since. If you're going to mark Tony Kelly, your hand coordination has to be just better than his. Yeah,
absolutely. No, you make your points very, 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 very well. But I want to bring in Molly because we've been not forgetting you, Molly.
County would have been Roisin McCormack. She was like when the All Ireland under 16. I marked her, and then club, probably Claude Tynan or Amy Collier, or like Sarah Ann Fitzgerald. They probably would be the toughest.
Yeah. Those 3 ladies, very, very, very good. Alice, we had Alice on last week. She's a great bit of stuff as well.
Oh yeah, she's class. Yeah, she's unreal.
Yeah.
But to have her on our team, like a Shanahan woman, and she's playing with us, like it's great.
Yeah, it's marvelous. I mean, she just has it. She just has it, and she's so passionate about all the sports she's involved in. And like this year, Molly, have you basically, when we do get back playing games and watching games, what do you want to get out of the year? Like what teams do you want to turn out for?
Well, like I would have liked to have been able to play college camogie, but like that's not until autumn. So, and I'd love to win a club like championship because we've never won one. Like I have never won one, so like that would be my main aim for this year. So that's my main focus. So, well, like I'll play for Laois as well, like, but I just really want to win a club championship.
Right, and have you played any games with WIT?
Yeah, like I played on the like Ashburn team, the main. Yeah, so we got to the semi-final and got like the ref kind of did us out of it, to be honest. So that was heartbreaking because we only lost by a point in like 7 minutes of injury time. So I could have won All Ireland with the college as well, like so. But sure, maybe next year.
Next year, absolutely next year. And I was talking to Podge earlier today, and I was saying there's a link there with IT Carlow and bringing on the Laois hurlers because they're playing colleges hurling at a top level. It must be the same for camogie. If more Laois camogie players are playing colleges camogie at a top level, that's going to improve them, isn't it?
Yeah, like Clodagh was on the same team as me, and like Ash O'D and like Niamh Cost was there as well, and like sure Sarah Cuddy, Amy Collier, Kirsten Keenan, like they were all on the IT Carlow team. So like, you know, there is a good few girls playing like top college camogie, like, so it's great. Like you can really see it. Like we come back and we like with playing with like top camogie players, you really do see a difference in like your skill and your touch and everything.
Yeah. Plus the mystique of playing with and against Tipperary or Kilkenny camogie players or Galway camogie players, the mystique is gone because you know you're either as good as them or better than them.
Yeah, like you'd feel when you're going in like, oh God, like look at these, like you'd know them. But like when you get playing with them, you just think like I'm actually just as good as them. Like I don't fear them anymore. Like, and it makes you better when you go out and play them county wise against them. You're like, sure, if I like could mark them at training, sure, why can't I mark them now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just been exposed to top level sport the whole time. It just brings you on.
Yeah, it's great. Like it's really good.
Yeah, and if selected, how many county teams will you turn out for this year?
Oh, only the intermediate. I never played football ever, so I'll just be the intermediate.
Oh, team. Right. There's no football at all.
None. No, never played.
That's
ever.
All right. You're not tempted to do an Alice Walsh on it?
No, definitely not. I don't want to be gone every night of the week.
Fair enough. You have to get your studies in as well.
Yeah, like I had to give up handball, like, because I actually haven't played it in years because I chose camogie, like, and it's so hard to play top level and commit to. Well, I found it very hard to commit to two different sports, so it was kind of like choose one or the other, and I went with camogie. But like I still always have my handball background that like has got me as far as I am today. Like.
Absolutely, and Paddy might get you back in the court.
Well, I just have an idea for Molly there. She will know a girl called Niamh Dunn very well. Now, Niamh was a really dedicated handballer. She chose handball over camogie when she was maybe 14 and 15. But I'm sure WIT has a handball possibility. I know with your busy schedule, it's near impossible. But Niamh actually went to UL for a year, and she linked up with Sienna Curran from Galway down there. And they played for UL Wolves Handball Club. They went to America to the US colleges, funded by the college in UL. I think they sent a team of about 12 players over, and they got to the final of the US colleges and won the doubles. And the US Handball Association happened to be there. They were kind of running it. And they bring out a monthly magazine. And Niamh featured on the front cover of the USHA Handball magazine, the monthly magazine, like the coverage that would have got all over America. Now, it's just a possibility for people that are in college. You don't have to be a star camogie player or footballer to link up with your handball version in the colleges. Like they would have had B players, C players, and way down along, you needn't to be a great handballer. But I know handballers from Trinity, UCD, DIT, Galway University, Cork University. There's a group of about 100 of them, I'd say, would go to that competition in America every year. Again, it's another avenue. If you're not a GAA player, if you're not into contact sports, if you don't want to be getting dirty out in the GAA pitch, there's an avenue open there for people to just go off and enjoy themselves. I'm not sure if Molly has any dreams of getting on a camogie team that'll play camogie in New York or Boston. Like that would be a dream trip. Yet there's handballers of less stature able to make that trip every year from the colleges. So I wouldn't rule it out yet, Molly. You never know. You might come back to us through WIT yet.
Well said, Paddy. Well said. And Ray, just to bring you in on that and Paddy's point there, the international aspect of handball is huge, and we forget that it's an enormous sport in North America. Surely that should be another way of tempting young players into the sport. They'll get their trip to New York or Boston or San Diego.
Yeah. Look, there's a great opportunity if you're in college and you're playing anywhere well that you could get a trip out to America. It is unbelievably big out there. Brady used to go out every year. He'd be playing games for high money, like they were getting paid for it and all that kind of stuff. Look, if I had it all over again, I would probably maybe put more emphasis on the handball and try and get out there and maybe make a few pounds or something. But listen, look, no, there's still great opportunities, and like the likes of Molly that is gifted, she would have no problem maybe getting out there and having a look at it. A free trip anyway, if nothing else. I'm going back to Paddy's point there about marking or maybe getting hit, or if you're not getting hit on a hurling pitch or anything. Well, I played handball against Joe and Paddy, and let me tell you, I often came off the hurling pitch feeling better than I did coming out from playing them boys.
Now, Joe, step in there. Is he saying you were rough? Yourself and Paddy were rough?
No, but Ray wasn't too clean himself.
Stop.
We had good battles, Paddy and myself and Ray down to the years there. We had a good laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you know there, John, but it doesn't probably come across in the camera there, but Joe is 6'4", maybe 6'5", and he has a wingspan that it's very hard to get the ball past Joe. I think Ray's about 6'1" or 2", and his shoulders, and like if you're trying to play a ball past these guys, or if they play a ball, but God, if you had to get around the two of them trying to get to the ball, if you know what I mean, it's a bit of a maze trying to get around them. And all three of us would have court craft, I suppose. We're playing it a long time. We play a lot of doubles, but certainly with the three of us on the court, it's a bit of a mission to try and get out without getting hit with the ball. Even sometimes these are hard hitters, and if you're standing in front and they decide to have a real poke at him, well, you move, but Ray mightn't let you move. Maybe you're trying to get around a stone wall, trying to get out of the way. But we certainly had interesting times over the years in all the doubles games we played, and I think the GA background from these guys, when they go out and they play a handball against other counties, maybe that players that are not from a GA background, well, they're at a big disadvantage. Kind of maybe if Joe and Ray were playing together in doubles, like against non-GA lads, it's a kind of they bring a new dimension to the game. I'll just leave it at
that. Nicely put. Very, very diplomatic there, Paddy. Very, very diplomatic. Now, it's been a pleasure having you all in this evening. Absolutely, you're wonderful ambassadors for handball and for reffing in your case, and of course Molly in your case for the Camogie. And hopefully Paddy will persuade you to get back to the handball as well, because as he quite rightly pointed out, the two seasons don't overlap. So you could be a handball champion over in America and then come back and win All Ireland with Laois, no problem at all. But thanks for everyone for coming along.
John,
before Stephen, go on, work away.
Before you go, I just want to pay tribute to somebody that has passed away yesterday. Brother Cyril Collins passed away in Castletown, a De La Salle brother. He happened to teach me when I was in 5th class and 6th class, and he would have introduced us to community games handball, where we ended up in Mosney at Handball All Ireland. But Brother Cyril was an innovator in all community games sports down in our small village. He was chairman of the community games in Limerick at the time, and he went on to be Munster chairman, and eventually he was national secretary. He would have grown up through community games across Ireland. He was a real community games supporter across all the provinces, and he ended up president of community games. Now he's been living in Laois, probably in Castletown, for the last maybe 15 years. He's not a Laois man. He's originally from Kishkame, County Cork. But I just thought I'd take the opportunity to pay a little tribute to him. A massive loss when he retired from from community games. I would have met him at Leinster community games finals over, and he'd always take the trip down to Tinryland or wherever there was played to see handball in particular. And in Mosney, where national community games finals are held, the handball is played out in Gormanstown, and sometimes it goes out to Kingscourt in Cavan. And I would have refereed games up there. It's kind of helter-skelter. There's boys and girls under 13 and under 15. There's a lot of young players around the place. But he always made an effort to get to the handball finals. And it kind of came as a surprise to him to see me in my late 40s coming back refereeing maybe at community games, when he had introduced me to community games handball back in 1975. Now that's a long time ago, but I just want to mention his name in passing. Is a real Gael, and he'll be sadly missed.
Sadly missed. Beautifully put. Beautiful words, Paddy. And Brother Cyril, obviously, in your case, planted a seed.
Yeah, our club at home went on to win senior doubles in handball. It's an iconic club across Ireland. A little bit. We've seen your ladies fine winners, but the first All Ireland that came to handball in Limerick underage was an under 12 doubles. Two friends of mine the same age, and without Brother Cyril, that wouldn't have happened. But I'll tell you, those two young under 12s, we all wanted to be those lads at under 13, 14, 15, 16. And the seed grew from there. It takes very little to set that seed. But he set that seed all over Ireland in every aspect of sport in community games. A tremendous man.
Well, in your case, Paddy, he planted a seed in very fertile ground.
Thanks, John. Thanks.
No, seriously. So beautifully put, Paddy. So to our panel this evening, to Ray, to Joe, to Molly, thanks for coming along. Paddy, thanks for helping out as always. And to our wonderful co-hosts, Stephen and Evan, thanks for helping out this evening. And we'll be out every Wednesday with the sports show, 9 o'clock. And do check us out on YouTube